Hi, and welcome back to Stop Being Sold. My name is Michelle, and I'm here with Brian. And in today's video, we're discussing the number one 401k rollover mistake to avoid at all costs. So if you recently left your job, you're thinking about doing it, or if you have a 401k that you've left behind with an old employer, or you have more than one you've left behind, you want to make sure to watch to the very end because this number one mistake could cost you way more than you bargained for.
Yeah, so true, Michelle. In my 24 years as a financial advisor, I've met with a lot of people who've made this mistake. It's very common. And let me tell you, it can be very costly by the time you add up your penalties and taxes. Just to give you a quick example, why you want to keep watching this video is, let's say you had $100,000 in your old 401k. Making this mistake could cost you $10,000 in penalties and $20,000 in unnecessary taxes up front. So,
well, I mean, nobody, if you spent so much time saving, why would
why would you give it back?
Exactly.
It's instantly gone. So.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's how much the mistake can cost you. But I want to start this video talking a little bit about how costly it is to actually leave a 401k behind with a past employer. Yeah. So when you change jobs, yeah, it's busy. Well, a rollover is the last thing you're thinking about, right? I mean, I get it. It's right. But it's really critical that anyone watching that's a 401k investor understand how much that decision is actually costing them. I'm not even talking about the rollover mistake. I'm just talking about leaving it behind. So last year, Capitalize put out a report on it was called the true cost of forgotten 401k accounts. And they found that by the end of 2020, they estimated that there were over 6.7 trillion in 401k accounts in total. But here's the catch. Of that 6.7, there were 1.35 trillion in assets and more than 24 million forgotten 401ks. And that's a boatload of money left behind.
Yeah, it is, Michelle. Think of that. $1.35 trillion of assets left behind, not being maximized. No. And
it's money that you've already saved, right? I mean,
right. This is yours. Come on.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. Here's the kicker. The same Capitalize report found that individuals could miss out on nearly $700,000 in retirement savings throughout their lives due to the risk of a forgotten 401k being in a higher fee plan and poorly allocated assets. Because if you don't have control of it, you're not reallocating. And if you're not reallocating, there's no rebalancing going on. You're not taking advantage of the good times and protecting yourself in the bad times. So not everyone's situation is going to, everyone's situation is going to vary. Not everyone's going to have $700,000, but it's the stat just shows how costly it can be, just leaving it behind.
Yeah, and think about that. I don't care if it's 70,000 or 700,000.
Right.
It's still
or 7,000
retirement.
Or 700.
Yeah. I can only imagine, Michelle, the amount of 401ks left behind that will increase as we continue to see more and more Americans participate in this great resignation that's going on right now as we speak.
Yeah, you and I talked about that last fall a little bit, and it was, I just thought, oh, it'll peter out, whatever, but it's not really letting up, is it?
No, it doesn't appear to be. Another 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs in February of this year, following a series high of 4.5 million in November of 2021. And that stats are coming from the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey released by the Department of Labor Statistics.
Okay, well, it's not letting up.
No, it's not.
I'm going to go with that. All right, well, I want to dive in and let's discuss this rollover mistake to avoid. But real quick, if you like the content of this video, hit that like button. And also don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you never miss another video from us. We talk about everything from 401ks, interest rates, IRAs, anything, just crypto, you name it, annuities, anything that helps you have a brighter financial future. So let's start off by talking about the types of 401k rollovers. There's direct and there's indirect. And I think this is really important to start here so people understand this. So break down the direct rollover for us.
Okay, these direct rollers, Michelle, are really simple. Okay, a direct rollover means that you're going to take and enroll in your 401k directly to another company from your existing company. Okay, so let's take this scenario where we're in right now, where people are upgrading their jobs and going to a better place of employment, whether it be for higher pay or whatever it may be, right? So let's say you're working at Goodyear. But Firestone, on the other hand, offered you a better position and more pay. So when you leave Goodyear, you have your old 401k to roll over. Now, you can roll over this to either your new Firestone 401k or to an IRA in your own name, right? So there's your two options. A direct rollover, Michelle, is going from one 401k plan directly from your old workplace to a traditional IRA that's in your name. And direct means you're not touching the funds. The check will be directly written to the new company, whether it be your new 401k or your new traditional IRA. It's that simple.
So it's going from custodian to custodian. The money never touches you. You don't get a check. It's not directly deposited in your bank account. It goes directly from something to something else, somewhat at custodian to custodian.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This is what happens in most cases. Now, you will have some companies that require the check to be written to the new company. So let's say you went from the Goodyear 401k plan, as an example, to TD Ameritrade as your new IRA custodian, right? Goodyear may require the check to be written in your name and TD Ameritrade's name, something like this. It would say TD Ameritrade for the benefit of John Smith on the check.
Sure. Okay.
But they may then mail you the check to your home address. Okay. Then your job is to send the check off to the new custodian, TD Ameritrade. You don't cash the check. So that's still not an indirect rollover, even though they sent you a check. The check was written out to the new company. So that's still considered a direct rollover. So,
So you mentioned rolling over from a 401k to another 401k. You mentioned rolling over a 401k to like an IRA. It's a traditional IRA. Right. What about rolling over a 401k into a Roth IRA?
Sure, you can do that. But here's the kicker. The money with your 401k, within your old 401k, was funded with most likely pre-tax money. So it can only go to the traditional IRA. Therefore, you have no penalties or taxes due. You know, there's a lot of 401ks today that have Roth provisions inside of them, and some of your money may be a Roth 401k. If that's the case, this means you're going to do a direct rollover, not only set up a traditional IRA, but you would need the Roth IRA because of the Roth 401k funds you now have to transfer. So you may have to set up two accounts if you have both provisions in your current 401k.
Okay, so if you roll over a traditional 401k into a Roth IRA, you have to pay the taxes on that rollover. Okay, so or can you from a traditional 401k can you roll from a traditional 401k into a Roth, or is it only if you have that Roth provision? You can do it.
You can do it no matter what. Just depends on what you want your taxes to be. So you're still going to have to pay the taxes if you roll from your old 401k into a new Roth and you didn't have a Roth provision in that old 401k. Look, IRS wants their money. Okay, it's that simple. You're going to have to pay the taxes on it. So at the end of the year, what you're going to get, Michelle, is a 1099 as a distribution, and you will have to pay taxes on that dollar amount. But if you do a rollover of a Roth 401k into a new Roth IRA, there's no 1099 at the end of the year, no taxes due on any direct rollover. So,
all right. So one more question. Before we get into indirect rollers, can you roll over a 401k into an annuity?
Yes, but it has to go into a qualified annuity or an IRA. So
got it. So
an IRA can be an annuity IRA. So virtually the same thing that we just discussed. It can be a mutual fund IRA. It could be a brokerage account IRA. As long as it's an IRA, you can roll it over.
Roll it over to an annuity. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's discuss indirect rollovers.
This is where the number one 401k rollover mistake is made. And let me explain this one in detail. With this type of 401k rollover, you actually receive a distribution from your retirement plan. And then to complete the rollover transaction, you have to make a deposit into the new retirement plan that you want to receive the funds.
Okay.
Now, you can make this rollover at any age, but there are specific rules that must be followed. Most importantly, you must generally complete that rollover within 60 days of the date the funds are paid from the distributing plan. If properly completed, indirect rollovers are not subject to income tax. But, and this is where the mistake is always made, if you fail to complete the rollover or miss the 60-day deadline, all or part of your distribution may be taxed and subject to, first of all, a 10% early distribution penalty unless you're over the age of 59 and a half, or there's a couple other exemptions that may apply. Now, here's the kicker, Michelle. If you receive a distribution from an employer retirement plan, your employer must withhold 20% of the payment for income taxes. That could be substantial, right?
Yeah.
After the taxes are taken out, you now are sent the funds via check, So you get a check in the mail for the 80% of what's left, right? This means, though, if you want to roll over your entire distribution, Michelle, you've got to come up with that extra 20% from some other funds that you may have. Now, you'll get your tax refund back based on putting,
you got to take care of it.
Yeah, but that's not till next year at tax time. So, and here's the other kicker. Let's say this is where you need to make sure you're working with a fiduciary advisor that understands these rules. Note, today the IRS only allows for one indirect rollover per 12-month period. You've got to know that. Only one. You can do as many direct rollovers as you want, but indirect, one per every 12 months.
Okay. So if I get a check mailed to me, let's say 4,000 or 40,000, it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
I have 60 days to put that money either into another retirement vehicle, like we talked about, IRA, whatever, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
or move it over to another 401k. Otherwise, it's considered, if I don't do that, it's considered a 401k withdrawal, and I'm going to have to pay the taxes and penalties on that money. Unless, is that correct? Let's start there.
Yeah, no, that's the simplest answer. You will pay the penalties if you're under age 59 and a half, and you will pay full taxes on all that money.
Okay. All right. And so it's the penalties and the taxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, also, if it goes into a Roth, though, you still have to pay the taxes on the conversion from the IRA to the Roth IRA if you had an old 401k to the IRA. So you have to remember that also. It has to go like plan to like plan, or you're still going to pay the taxes on it. So,
okay.
So if you didn't have a Roth provision inside your 401k, but remember the 60 days from the date the transaction started, you have to do it.
That's the key.
That's the key right there.
That's
60 days. And Michelle, this is why this is the number one rollover mistake people make. One that can be very costly. In my 24 years as financial advisor, I can't tell you how many phone calls I've received saying, hey, I got this check from this old company. What do I do with it? And usually they come up and follow up with that by saying, oh, yeah, I'll ask, when did you get that check? Oh, it's been laying in this drawer now for a couple months. You've already bypassed the limit. So, you got to be so careful on this. People just don't pay attention today to their mail. And sometimes I'll just stick it over there. I'll open it when I got time. And well, that check could be in there. That's time stamped and you've got that 60-day period. So you've got to be careful on this.
For sure. For sure. All right. So how many people come to you and say, hey, look, this is like, I have this check. I know this check, I have this check and I want to spend it.
Oh, that's common.
That's a thing.
That's very common. And they'll say because it just happens to be the worst timing for them. Like the car broke down, you need a new air conditioner, whatever it may be. It happens. And all of a sudden you got this, we call it mailbox money. You got this check in the mail, right? And it's like, oh, thank you. Oh, I was just having my furnace broke down or my air conditioner went out. And now this comes to a big personal decision. What are you going to do? Right. Are you going to pay the penalties and the taxes to fix your air conditioning, or are there other options? Make sure you call your advisor if you have one and discuss this with them before you make that decision and see if there's another way to fix this. So yeah, most people are going to spend it though.
Right. Yeah. That's what I can see a few people putting it in the drawer, but I've heard quite a few, not quite a few, but some people that I know who are like, it's 20,000. I'm going to use it for this or do whatever. I'm liquidated. Right. And if they're under, which they are, they're under 59 and a half, they're pay the penalties, they pay the taxes because it's considered that withdrawal. And if they're, over that age, they pay the taxes, but still, And
it's really common, Michelle, with the smaller accounts. And what I mean by that, accounts under $5,000. Okay. So if you have an old 401k under $5,000, your custodian, the old custodian, is automatically going to send you the check. Sure. You don't even got the decision to do it because they want them accounts, small accounts
off the books. I understand. Yeah.
So now you get this check. It's like, oh, mailbox money. What do I going to buy? So that's common. It is a very common mistake to make. So
okay, well, here we go. The long and the short of it is it's simpler and it's safer to do the direct rollover.
Yeah.
Don't risk going out of town and missing that check coming in, or the what's it called when you really want to spend, oh my gosh, what is it called? The temptation. There it is. To spend it, whether it's to fix something that's needed or to,
vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been cooped up for 2 years now. So, but you're exactly right, Michelle. I've seen so many times, too many people over the years lose some of their hard-earned retirement savings due to these indirect rollovers because they either need the money for something else or they forgot to transfer within the 60-day period. So it's common.
All right. Indirect, no. Direct, better option.
Better off.
Thanks for this, Brian. This has been super helpful.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. So if you watched to this point, real quick, if you watch this point, make sure you hit that like button and also hit that notification bell and subscribe button so you never miss another video from us.
Definitely.
Thanks, Brian. And thanks everybody for watching.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Michelle.